Hey fam, hey, welcome back to my channel. Hoping everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Of course, we know that every year we sometimes make resolutions. Some of us are making lists of intentions. But what we all gonna do is we gonna come into 2023 real soft like. Because, when we claim that a year is our year, all heck breaks loose. And here we are again at Sister Wives Season 17 Tell All Part 2. Go ahead and make sure you like, subscribe. Let me know you stopped by. Hopefully when you come by, you realize that everything that we say here is totally for entertainment purposes only. So if that is okay with you, stick around and go ahead and become a part of the family. All right, y'all, meet me after the jingle. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Now, when we start, we go ahead and have a recap of what was said on part 1. Considering we haven't been here for almost 2 weeks, we went ahead and went back through what everybody had to say. This time we start at the most cringiest part of last episode, where Cody grabs Suki and his segue to talk about this highly suspect freak out that Christine had about Cody reconciling with Mary. Now, I call it suspect because, like all of us have said, we don't believe that Cody was ever going to reconcile with Mary. Isn't it strange that she never heard about it from Cody? And she certainly never heard about it from Robin, who's supposed to be her ride-or-die bestie. Don't you think Robin would have said, "Hey, Mary, the reason you should stick around is because Cody is really considering reconciling with you"? Or don't you think she would have said it back in Vegas when this supposedly took place? With friends like her, who needs enemies? I swear, I felt like I was watching a game of two truths and a lie, and the look on Suki's face said the same thing. Now, like I said before, we're reminded that Mary never heard about this. Cody said, "I had just shown the plans for the house that Rob and I were going to let them share with us." Those are my own words. Basically, he had just shown him the house for the big plan of them all living together. And Christine, of course, we remember, did not want to live with her sister wives at all. And on top of that, he mentioned getting back with Mary and said that Christine said, "I can't do that." So basically, he's trying to say that the reason she got so worked up was because here I am presenting this plan of one big house and I'm telling her I'm going to get back with Mary, and she freaked out. I don't believe that. You don't believe that. The world doesn't believe that. So we see Robin, who tries to act like she didn't know what was going on because, that's her game. And she says to Suki, "Oh, he told you." And she goes, "I just remember that she was at my house and she was freaking out. No, I don't want to talk bad about her, Girl, why stop now? You've been talking bad about her for years, right? You've been talking behind her back, saying things that she's done. Why stop now?" So then Suki says, "Well, do you think that would have happened?" And Robin says, "Yes, because if Cody says it will happen, it will happen." I wonder if this girl thinks that man turns water into wine too. This chick, right? Then she pretends to feel like her friend got cock-blocked, basically. You've been cock-blocking for about 10, 11 years now, Robin. So don't try to act like that Christine came in and thwarted some plan that Cody had to get back with Mary. Because as you've always said, Cody is not a man to be told what to do by one of his wives. So why would Christine freaking out make him not do what he supposedly wanted to do? Of course, Christine is offended that Cody has basically told this lie on her and cannot believe that he would spread such a rumor. We can believe it because he's a liar, a narcissist, and will cover his own ass before anybody else. And if that includes throwing one of his wives or his children under the bus, he will do so. Now, I noticed something very technical, and in technical, I mean the filming of this. We kind of get a glimpse into the way they must have filmed it. Now, I know that I'm saying something that someone I'm sure has already said or noticed before, but I think we get a glimpse into the order that they filmed each wife and Cody, because she says to Mary, "I asked Christine about this rumor." And Mary is glad to hear that she feels like she would not have stopped a makeup between her and Cody. But of course, Mary says she wasn't there for the conversation, right? But again, no one told me. And it just says it is curious that Christine doesn't remember. she doesn't remember Mary because it didn't happen. But the technical thing is that she has already, obviously, Suki, talked to Mary, or talked to Cody, Robin, Christine, Janelle, and I'm thinking that Mary was last. Maybe Mary was last in the filming. She was at least after Christine because she was able to tell her that she asked her about this supposed makeup rumor, right? She says that Robin remembers the conversation. And my theory on that, as always, is that Robin only remembers because she is going to ride and die and corroborate with whatever story Cody wants to tell. Cody could have said that an alien was going to come down, transform them all into stars, and they will live on a planet called Baba Ganoush. And she would go, yes, we are going to be transformed into stars and live on a planet called Baba Ganoush. It was supposed to happen, but Christine freaked out. And so now we can't do it. And it'll be Christine's fault that they can't go to the planet Baba Ganoush. Like, that's really what it boils down to. So Mary says that it's heartbreaking that Cody wanted to give their relationship a chance. And now here he is 2 years later and doesn't even want to even barely talk to her. Honestly, Mary, don't let that break your heart, because number one, it's not true. Number two, he pretty much saved your life, because I can only imagine what you would have turned out to be. I think it would have been an even more unflattering version of yourself. And the work that you say you did on yourself probably would have gone to piss, because you would have been trying to please this man. You would have felt beholden to this man because you already have the guilt of the catfish situation. Then you've been waiting these years for him to accept you. And if he had done that, you would have pretty much turned into a Robin. You would have turned into a people-pleasing, obedient, compliant person. And honestly, I just don't think that's who you are. You would have turned into a complete opposite of who I think you are. It would be like coming back to the team as a rookie when you actually started the team, right? So again, the way that Cody is being said that, you don't tell him what to do. Robin has said that you don't tell him what to do. There's no way, Mary, that if he wanted to get back with you, Christine could not have stopped that. And if he really wanted to do it for the right reasons, again, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no river wide enough, ain't no valley low enough to keep him from you. That's all I'm going to say. Suki asks if she gets to decide now that she is not married and ready to move on. And Mary says, well, Cody has already decided that. So that's what we're sitting with. Wow. So here's a question. How does one go from wanting to reconcile to absolutely not? That's where I'm really convinced he never wanted to do it. How do you go from, I am telling all three of my wives, I could reconcile with Mary, this thing could work, I have forgiven her for all that we've been through, to totally pendulum swing to move to the B&B. If you wanted to get married, you'd get no fight from me. Sorry, this is a show. This is a show for him. He is putting on, I don't know which part he's playing, but he is definitely putting on a show, and I really think he needs to get some help. That's all I'm going to say. Wow. In talking to Janelle, we do a flashback of happier times. And although it was nice to see these moments, and we see that every moment a wife has, and she talks about the eyes of Cody, and that when he looks at you, those eyes are meant specifically for you, and you feel that, and they all tear up on the couch. And I know that this was supposed to be a really wonderful moment in a show full of chaos, but of course, leave it to me to come in and be the wrecking ball that I am, and say that his eyes were lying eyes, and he lied to all of you. And I base this on the things that he has said out of his own mouth to people. I've never loved you. We've never acted like a married couple. Those are things that he has said to you. So maybe he did look at you 1 or 2 times with something in his eyes. I don't know if it was ever love. Janelle says it was heaven at those times. They were all together. They were working together, right? But that a lot of difference of opinion and other things have just come in and cut really deep. Now, in reading from the book, though, those cuts started very, very early. And Cody does talk about how he brought Janelle in to this family and she came in and Mary treated her so awful. Well, that says to me that from the very beginning, things were not right. Right? So Mary says we had a really good life. And she does use the word had. Suki points this out because things are different now. She says now that when the children are grown up, the adults have to figure out who they are. She and Cody have been in this situation of polygamy, or they got married when she was 19 and he was 22. They brought Janelle in very soon after. And then some years later, or a year or so later, they brought in Christine. And it's just interesting to read the book and then hear the recount of how things happened because it just doesn't match. He calls Janine a blessing of dilution in his hard marriage to Mary. He says that he brought her into Mary's house, which she had already established, right? And I have to say, I agree that there was probably going to be some push and pull because there is usually only one queen in a castle. There is only one cook in a kitchen. And it is hard to have someone come in and try to be a part of something you've already set up. So really, he set Janelle up. He set her up for failure, right? You brought her into another woman's home and you did not do it properly. You were not a man who was ready to lead one wife, let alone two. You've already said Mary had a confrontational attitude. It was hard from the beginning. So when you mix in Mary's confrontational attitude, probably some jealousy, and you put that into close quarters, you know it's going to fall apart. But you were too young to see that because you weren't really ready. You weren't ready to step into the role of being the head of a household. You're still not in the role of being head of the household. You're still not ready. Janelle basically corroborates what Cody says and mentions things like detergent that they didn't use that she would bring home, or whether to put oranges in the fridge or not, right? So she said, we butt heads over everything. You know, Suki's trying to go through the list and she's like, no, it was everything. It was absolutely everything. Right? And she is a person, Janelle I'm talking about, is someone she says stuffs things and then she blows up. So let's go back to a few episodes ago when she finally blew up about the house. She wanted her own house. So all of this makes sense. From the very beginning, you brought her into another woman's house. She has been living with other people and took a break to stay in Wyoming so that she was not living with other people. She finally got her own house in Vegas, but it was still close to the other wives. She finally got her own house in Flagstaff, but still you would come in and say things about it and make comments about how it wasn't big enough and blah, blah, blah. Janelle has been searching for some autonomy, even in this marriage. And so when she finally blew up about wanting her own house, she had been stuffing that all those years, probably from the beginning. Christine calls Mary aggressive and said that talking to her would cause ulcers and stomach aches, and said that everything was an issue and it had to be perfect down to the way that we cleaned up or put things away or where we put them. And it was very stressful for her. She never knew if Mary was mad or not, and so she was done with her. And I do remember the conversation that happened during Maddie's first birth, where Christine told her that basically I would not have invited you to that birth. Because remember, Mary kept trying to go and she didn't see anybody. People were in the back room, all that kind of stuff. And finally, Christine brought her over to her house and said, you bring so much baggage into the room with you, and I don't know what to do with that. So, of course, Mary puts up her defenses and you see her underneath just seething at this conversation. But Christine's telling her the truth and she's telling her, listen, I don't know what to do with you. I'm sorry. We are probably not going to be close because of it. And I also remember when they first moved to Flagstaff, there was a time when Mary's house was under watch of having a forest fire that was going to maybe sweep away the house, they thought. And Christine was trying to help her, and Mary unleashed a little bit on her out of nervousness and being scared about the house. But she said there are these times when Christine's fun attitude and the way she jokes really is inappropriate and doesn't happen at the right time. But at that time, Christine was really trying to be her friend, even after she'd probably said she was done with her. So that says a lot, again, about Christine. It's hard to have somebody hold a mirror up to you and call you out. And I remember when I heard that conversation between Christine and Mary, I remember feeling bad for Mary in that moment because I was thinking to myself, well, who is Christine to pull somebody aside and say, I would not have had you at that birth? Maddie's not her daughter. She didn't have Maddie, I guess I should say. So it's really not up to Christine. And I thought this at the time. It really wasn't up to Christine to decide who was there and who wasn't there. I don't know or remember if Maddie wanted her there or said she wanted her there or even thought about it in the middle of birth. But I really did. I had an issue with that conversation. But knowing now more about Mary and Christine's relationship, I totally understand why it happened. Cody and Suki discuss when Janelle left the family for a while and went to live with her mother, and that she and her mother would call their clique the Mary and Christine Club. Of course, again, Cody saw all the conflict between them, but she says it was as simple as I didn't want to leave Utah, right? But the way he hears it, because he's a true narcissist, he says it was this conflict and he has to put blame on something or someone other than himself. He then, as we go back to Cody, he starts to talk about how Christine asked to be a part of the family. Really? I do not remember reading that in the book. But he does admit that the reason he married her was because she was royalty in the church. So he says that he was going to be cool. He thought that he'd be cool by marrying her. And of course, he spins it that he didn't want to. And for that reason, he says that basically it's ego driven. The religion is ego driven. And he was basically pumping his ego up by marrying this girl who had a high standing in their faith. They go back and watch the performance that Cody gave on the porch. And if you look really closely, and I missed this the first few times I watched it, you can actually see the cameraman in the reflection of the window right behind Christine's head. So when we all joked in some of our videos about how he repositioned himself before the big climax of the blow up, we said that he was doing it for the cameras. Well, he probably actually was, right? Chris says that she was close to Janelle and no one else, which we saw before. And of course, Robin's face in the little box seems confused. Although, why am I surprised? I think waking up confuses this woman. Like, how does sleep work? I don't know. Like, do you go to sleep and then you're not here? Or do you wake? Like, I think waking up and going to sleep is a confusing subject for her. Janelle basically shakes her head in support of her friend. And basically with knowing that she's going to be walking away soon too, right? She's going to be walking away from this delusional pile of nonsense. Cody points to the scene of Janelle and Christine hugging and says he doesn't get it. Right, Dumbo? Because you don't get forgiveness. You don't get support. You don't get being a grown-up. Knowing better, doing better. That's why you don't get it. Christine says that she didn't know she was shunning Robin. You weren't, Christine. You weren't shunning Robin at all. As a matter of fact, if you go over to Reality TV Squad, she does a video about all the times or how Christine did reach out to Robin, including basically making her some sort of quilted framed piece when Solomon was born, and admits that her treatment of Robin was not that great. So I think I'm going to go back and do some more digging into that and present that in a later video about all the times that Christine reached out to Robin. I feel like they need proof in visual form because, some people are visual learners and audio learners and kinesthetic learners. I don't know what kind of learners Cody and Robin are. It's probably none of those three, but Who do you trust? This is what Suki asks. And he says, I think that's obvious. And she says, then say it. Good for you, Suki. Press him. And then he leans over, well, this is just about to piss me off. Why can't you say it? Because it makes us all right. That's why you can't say it. It makes the accusation that there is a favorite wife confirmable when you say that she is who you trust. I also have another theory on that, though. Part of me feels like he wants to say he trusts Robin, and I think that's true. But I also feel like he probably only trusts himself. Because that's a narcissist. That's what they do. They can act like it. Trusting her is one thing. Her being obedient and compliant and bowing to his every whim and building him up and making him feel like a god, that has nothing to do with trust. Just think about it. Think about it. Janelle points out that he's saying that he sacrificed to love Christine. And when someone says that, that's not healthy, right? If you are carrying a need to sacrifice to love someone, that's not what you want to be doing. You want to be loving them because you love them, not because there's all these sacrifices that you've made to do so. Right? And basically, Robin was the angel who came in and he sees as perfect. She feels like Cody is very myopic when it comes to Robin and how she sees things and her hurts and her worries and what she goes through. He actually told Janelle at some point that in an argument or whatever she was saying, he could not take her side. But now he's doing that very thing with Robin. Mary seems to also see the unfairness that Christine was experiencing. She says that no wife wants to hear that someone had to sacrifice to love you, and that Christine probably just wanted some love and affection that she wasn't getting. Again, going back, I think it's season 4, Cody takes Mary on a ski trip for her anniversary. She ends up breaking her leg. And when they come back, I think the entire family is in a ski chateau or a cabin of some sort. And Christine goes in to talk to Mary about the fact that he's spending so much time with Robin. Mary says to her these words, "Just keep sweet. You need to change yourself. You can't change Cody. You can only be responsible for yourself. So just keep sweet." That is the creepiest term I think I've ever heard, only because now I know what it can be linked to. Robin says that she talked to him about what he meant. In the beginning was difficult, and she seems to remember times when Christine would tell her how things were going to work, and she would leave her out of things. But I seem to remember a lunch that Christine took you on, and she explained that the way she treated you had nothing to do with you, but more to do with Cody. But now, even Robin says, I don't really see her mistreating me. I just see the walls that I'm having to deal with. Suki brings up the bad-mouthing the other wives. And she says, sure. Christine says, of course we bad-mouthed each other, but we're human. We all do it. She would want to vent to her husband, and he would vent to her about them. We are adults. We are human. We always have something we can say about another person. It's not that we're being mean. It's just that we're getting something off our chest, something that's frustrating to us because it's better out than in. She ain't trying to get ulcers from everybody. So she was trying to talk to her husband about some concerns that she had. There was one part in the middle there where Cody started to talk again and my brain shut down. And I think I heard him say some things, but I just moved on. Right? So she asked, can it be that it just doesn't work? And she says, sure. But it goes down the way Cody wants it go down. He again accuses Christine of swaying the children against him. Here's the thing, Cody. The children have their own stories, right? And although Gwen is the only one who's talking on YouTube right now, I really hope that more of them come forward in the future. I have already heard from some of your children on the couch. But I hope that more of your children in the future decide to come forward and talk a little bit about what it was like to be in this family and see their mothers being treated the way they were treated. So then they move on to the awkward goodbye when Christine was leaving Flagstaff. And although it was really awkward, to me, the thing that was the cringiest was that at the end of it, Cody just throws the deuces and says, safe travels. Janelle talks about how she's not really a huggy person, but gives Christine a hug because she needs it. Something that I missed in the before episode was that she says to her, new chapters, new chapters. Now, to me, that was code for take me with you, or I'll be there soon, girl. Hang on, we gonna hang out. Robin said that she would have hugged her, but of course, because of COVID, she didn't. Man, Robin, aren't you glad you had COVID to cover that line? Janelle talks about what Christine would want in a future partner, and it was more about that she wants someone to cherish her. Now, here's the thing that I'm going to say, I told you so. Christine says that her type is Shamar Moore. Now, if you don't know who that is, look him up on Google. Thank me later. And I told you Christine was a sister. So come on for being down with the swirl, Christine. Robin, can you and Christine get to a good place? This is what Suki asks. And she says, well, I'd be willing, but it's up to her. Yeah, that ain't happening, especially if it's up to Christine. I thought we might make it through this without Robin fake crying, but alas, we didn't. She calls herself jokingly Cody's whipping boy. Robin, do you know what that phrase is or what it means? Cody would have to be the one doing the whipping, not the other wives. We end with Cody turning into the pre-K toddler that we know he is. Suki tries to ask a question about Robin and he shuts down and starts to pound his feet, looks at his watch and says, I'm not going to talk about her. She asks if they can show the clip and have him react and he says, sure, maybe. Apparently he thinks he runs things there too. Oh my gosh. All right, well, next week we're going to see the last part of this tell-all where Robin accuses the wives of handing Cody to them. Now, here's the thing. I know that we're all going to look at that and probably get really upset, but honestly, wouldn't you hand Cody off to somebody else? So basically next week, Cody continues to be the toddler that he is. Sass makes an appearance and tries to convince us that the other wives just gave him over. Janelle confirms her separation from Asshat. Mary accepts her fate and says, Cody is not who he was when I married him. And Christine just calls a thing and says it's obvious where he wanted to be, at Robin's house. Okay, everybody, that's all I got until next week. Part 3 is coming and then we will be done. I want you to remember, stay tuned to my channel because I think I'm going to go back and do a rewatch of 90 Day Fiancé. We are done with both of the tell-alls for Single Life and for Happily Ever. We're in part 1 of Happily Ever After. And I just have to go back and remind myself about this whole Kimberly and Usman thing. I got to go back and rewatch Natalie and her foolishness. Child, I got a lot to say about them couples, but I'm only going to cover the couples that I'm really interested in. I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm going to go back and only follow certain stories because Angela and Michael, we got to talk about them. All right, y'all, I'm going to see you next week. Remember, if there's something you want to do, go ahead and do it. Don't let anybody stop you. There's enough room for everybody. Happy 2023, y'all. Be safe. Peace, love, and hair grease. We out.